Hey besties, welcome back to a new episode of Hot Girl Habits podcast with me, your host, Ellie Bird. So today we are talking about being delulu, a little bit delusional, and why it might just be what you need to do to get to where you want to be. So you've probably heard people talking about being delulu on TikTok, and that is where our influence came from for this episode. So yeah, our quote of the week is just be delulu. It is a solulu. It's a solution. It could be your solution anyway, so let's talk about it. So before we get started, let's do a little weekly roundup. So what have I been up to? To be honest, not that much, just taking it slow because I've got a big weekend coming up next weekend, going to Winter Wonderland, so London for the weekend. So yeah, just pretty chilled day so far today. I just literally had clients at the gym, taught my boot camp class, which I do every Sunday. Just the usual, just taking it slow, just living on the vibe, having a good time. So yeah, not too much to report on my end, but I hope you guys are all having a lovely week yourselves. Yeah, just enjoying life. So let's get on with the episode, shall we? So let's talk about being delusional. So what do we mean by this? So obviously delusional means kind of being almost unrealistic, believing that things are going to happen that probably won't, most likely won't. But if we look at it in the right way, it can be a great mindset to be in. So if you are being a little bit delulu, you are almost manifesting that things are going to happen. So think of it this way. If I was a bit delulu and was like, I'm going to make £1 million next year. Like some people would look at that and be like, you are absolutely delulu. Like you don't make anywhere near that. You know, what possibly would lead to you being able to do that in the future? However, right, if I genuinely am convinced, I genuinely have that mindset, it's almost the same as manifestation. And I view manifestation as kind of being really clear on what you want to achieve, and then you have to put the work in. So in my opinion, like manifestation isn't going to work if I said, I'm going to have £1 million next year, and then just carried on, you know, let's say going to my 9 to 5, where I know I don't earn £1 million, and just thought, well, yeah, I'm going to get this £1 million, not putting on the lottery, not doing a single thing, not that that's actually going to get you £1 million, but, you know, not doing a single thing that's actually going to get me to that point. Whereas if I have my little delulu mindset and I'm like, going to have £1 million next year, but I'm currently starting up a business which could profit that much money, for example, then okay, be delulu queen, like slay in the deluluness, because you could do that. You could earn that money. You could, you know, and not that that's necessarily the mindset to have in all aspects of life. And it's obviously being realistic within it. But I think view this delusional life as you would view like manifestation, but then also use it as a motivation to set those goals, to sit in goal set, to figure out how we're going to get there. And that is what is going to help you achieve that delusion, essentially, and make it a bit less delusional. It's like, for example, saying that you want to get 1 million followers on TikTok, yet you never post on TikTok. Okay, so if you never post, how are you going to get 1 million? You're literally not. Whereas if you were posting consistently, you know, working on improving your videos each time, doing the right things, maybe you will get 1 million followers. So, you know, it's almost just believing in yourself so much in what you're trying to achieve. And I think that is what we should be delulu in. Obviously, you don't want to be delulu about something which essentially you have, to an extent, no control over. You can't do anything to push yourself in the right direction of. So yeah, if you are delulu about the right things, it honestly can, you know, get you there so much quicker. So yeah, you almost need to pretend that you have achieved something before you have. So let's go back to the 1 million followers and TikTok thing. Like if you post like you have 1 million followers and interact with that audience, build up that following, build up that like, you know, relationship with them, then, you know, maybe you will get to that 1 million followers mark, even if you're on 100 now. You know, maybe with money, like if you, obviously you don't want to pretend you have it in terms of like you don't want to spend it before you have it. But if you are putting the work in and grafting away, you know, you've started a side hustle, for example, you know, if you are putting so much work into that side hustle that it's like it's your full-time job, eventually you will be able to make that your full-time job rather than your side hustle. So for example, I used to have a part-time job and I started running my business at the gym, my personal training business. I used to treat the personal training business as my full-time job. It was everything. I put all my time into it, all my energy into it, did every single thing I could. Whereas some people maybe could have gave it this thing of like, well, it's just a side thing right now because I'm not, I don't have enough clients for it to be a full-time thing. But actually, if behind the scenes you're putting the time into that business, you will be able to build it up and it will be able to be your full-time hustle. So kind of pretend that you are there before you're not, in terms of like the time you dedicate to something. And you're only going to do that if you really care about something. So it is probably going to help you see if the thing is for you, because it's going to help you see if you want to put the time into it. You almost want to be trying to do too much. Try to do the absolute most. Like, be so delusional that you are convinced you can build this business, you can build that, account, you can build whatever it is, that those finances, like almost do extra than you probably need to do to get there, because you can essentially never do too much. Obviously, you want to maintain balance in the other areas of your life, but be delusional enough to be convinced you need to put that time in, and eventually you will get there. And there's not really another way to do it. Like, if you're approaching something like a side hustle, it will remain a side hustle. If you're approaching something like a full-time job, it will be a full-time job. Like, it's the energy you put into these things is what you get back out of them. So be delusional enough to put all of that energy in, and you are going to feel so much happier, so much more satisfied. And at first, it might feel like a slow process, but we will get there. And, we can also look at this with like relationships, for example, like, and obviously not necessarily like your like romantic relationships as such, but definitely your like friendships, acquaintances, all of that. A lot of people have this social anxiety where they enter social situations convinced that people don't like them, that, they're not good enough to be there, and all of this. You need to enter that room knowing you are meant to be here. Everybody loves you here. And that is going to help you build a really happy life, a really satisfied life. You're going to give people the energy of that love and care that you feel like you've got from them, that you're convinced you've got from them, even if they've never showed you that before, or maybe they don't like you. But actually, that's a them problem, not a you problem anyway. So yeah, be convinced that everybody loves you, that, everyone around you has got good intentions, and that is going to leave you feeling so much more satisfied and fulfilled with your life. And obviously we can look at this from a work perspective. So let's say you do work for someone else and you want to be promoted to, the level above. Almost be delusional enough to think that you can just do that job right now. You can, and obviously, don't be doing too much, don't burn yourself out, but, be delusional enough to know that you can do that job, and you are putting the work in, and you deserve that. And I think sometimes people hold themselves back because they're so convinced that they're not good enough at things. But who told you that you're not good enough? Literally yourself. And like, let's say relationship aspects of being delulu, like go into that new relationship thinking, I am going to marry this person, I'm going to settle down with them, we're going to have the best life together. Because again, you don't want to enter that new relationship thinking, oh, well, what if they're like all the other people? What if, they don't treat me how I want? What if this? What if that? Like, get those negative thoughts out of your head. Be a bit delulu. Convince yourself that everything is going to turn out how you want it to, and it probably will. So, yeah, just get into that positive mindset with it all. Same with fitness. Some people wouldn't go to a spin class, for example, because they're like, I would not be able to get to the end of that 45 minutes. There is no way I could do all that cardio. But if you are delulu enough to turn up and be like, I'm going to crush this, I'm going to get every move on the beat, I'm going to be queen of spin, you're going to get yourself there. You're going to show up. You're going to be consistent. Whether, it goes perfectly or not once you're in there, whether you maybe do need 5 minutes or just sitting down and cycling at a steady pace, that is fine. You do you. You're still working towards being the person that does walk into that class and smashes every single beat, every note, be delulu. Like, you want to attend a dance class, for example. So many people want to do that and they say, oh, but I'm a bit nervous because, I haven't danced since I was young and I'm probably not going to look great. But like, be delulu. Walk into that dance class and dance your ass off. Like, show your moves, be confident, because that is what is going to make your dancing look better. Be delulu enough to think, I'm going to slay this dance, I'm going to be the best in the room. Not that it's a competition, but you want to have that mindset. You want to have the right energy to put into things. And we can also look at our delulu-ness as setting big enough goals. So if you are setting yourself big goals, you kind of need to be a bit delulu to do that, because if you're setting really small goals that are like, you kind of know you're going to hit, it's not really even a challenge. Okay, great. You can get to that and celebrate, but actually set yourself a massive goal. Set yourself a goal that exceeds what you almost think you can even do. Like, set a goal that is so big that you're like, probably won't do that. But set it anyway, because even if you do half of that, even if you get halfway there, it's still better than setting yourself a goal that's just like too easy, or not setting yourself a goal at all. Like, be delusional, set goals that are gonna give you your dream life. Like, literally sit and imagine, if I could live my dream day right now, what would it consist of? And then think, right, well, what do I need to do for that to be my day to day? How do I get there? And obviously, we're all within reason and all of that. But, if you can do things to get to where you want to be, or to get on some sort of path to get there, like, do it. You can do literally anything if you convince yourself you can. Like, if you just get started. So yeah, just let's set these goals. Let's get it moving. Let's be delulu this year, because realistically, who says you can't do these things? Who says you can't achieve these things? It's all in your head. Like, we really do build our own life, and the only person holding you back is yourself. The only thing stopping you is your own brain telling you can't. So manifest that shit. Like, get into a headspace where you're like, I can achieve this. I can get there. Be delusional enough to work towards massive goals that, okay, maybe you might not achieve, but let's say your goal is to make £1 million in a year. Okay, you only made 900k. I don't think you're going to be sad about it. Like, I don't think you're going to be disappointed in yourself. And that's another thing. Like, don't be hard on yourself if you don't reach goals. Like, be kind to yourself, because, you are the only person that's going to be in your life for your whole life. Like, you ain't going nowhere. So be kind to yourself. Let yourself set these goals and work towards them. And you never know, in a year's time, your life could look completely different. So let's be delulu. Let's have a delulu 2024 and see what we can achieve. Okay, guys, that is the end of this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. A short and sweet one. Just wanted to talk a little bit about being a bit delulu. It just had to be done. So thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. And I will see you next Wednesday. If you want to get involved with the podcast, Hot Girl Habits Podcast on Insta, TikTok and YouTube. Specifically on our Instagram is where we do polls for a lot of the episodes. Didn't do one for today's, but quite often I'll do a poll, a Q&A, so you can get really involved. YouTube, I'm going to start uploading the full podcast video. So if you prefer to watch, put it on your telly, whatever it is, head over there, subscribe. The full episodes will be on there. And yeah, if you want to follow me personally, it's Elbird, ELLBARD on Instagram, and then Ellybird Fitness on TikTok, Insta, and YouTube. YouTube is full of vlogs, hauls, so definitely head over there. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for listening to this week's episode of the podcast, and I will see you next week. There's a new episode every single Wednesday. So thanks for listening, guys. Bye.